Hello everyone. So recently the cue sheet for the upcoming BRM 600 on June 22nd, 2019, it recently came out, so I thought I'd do a video talking about a bit of route planning and stuff like that. So let's look at the route. By the way, this is going to involve a lot of RideWithGPS. It's basically a website as well as an application, or more like a mobile app. And RideWithGPS is pretty useful for creating and managing routes, in addition to like tracking your rides and all that. So in a way, it's kind of like Strava. I'm pretty sure most people are familiar with it. You can also build and manage routes in Strava, and probably with many other apps, including I think Garmin Connect and such. But since Audax Randomness Malaysia uses RideWithGPS, and because I also use RideWithGPS, so I thought I'd just use it for purposes of this demonstration. So let's jump right into it. Click. Okay, there's your map. First thing I want to do is to save it. So copy to my routes, give it a name, whoever can see it, whatever, copy it. Alright, now I'll just view my copy, since I cannot actually edit someone else's route, so I'm gonna work on my own route. And let's go ahead and edit. Now, before I begin, let's talk about maps. Usually, depending on which region or which country you come from, you'll probably get a bunch of maps, although the actual choice is actually quite limited. Maps is basically what Google provides you. Then you have OpenStreetMaps, which are three different variations, but practically they are based on the same base map, so you can treat them as the same thing. And then you got these topographical maps, which I think don't really apply in the context of cycling. I don't know if you get any other maps if you're from some other country or not, but these are the maps that I get with. Now, the important thing about maps is sometimes you got to pick between aesthetics and accuracy, and that may also depend on the region or the country you come from. So maybe Google Maps might be accurate, and OpenStreetMaps may not be in your country, or the other way around. So one example I can illustrate is okay, let's go to kilometer. This is near the third checkpoint in Mary Brown. So yep, here it is. So you notice this little turning over here, and then the Mary Brown restaurant here is the checkpoint or the control. If you go to OpenStreetMaps, there's nothing there. And the thing is, certain devices, for example Garmin, is based on OpenStreetMaps, or perhaps there are ways to download OpenStreetMaps and put them on your devices. So if your device or your cycling computer relies on OpenStreetMaps, you won't see this Mary Brown or whatever, and there really isn't that big of a consequence of this. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing to consider is this GPS track was generated by the recce team that actually cycled this route. So I know some people may appreciate the extra detour here, but sometimes a recce team might actually turn off somewhere else, maybe to find an overnight hotel or to go sightseeing or whatever. And sometimes, you know, these kind of things can get added to the route. So if you want to correct routes like this, well, there's no actual good example in this particular route, but let's just say you find something that you want to correct, then it's actually pretty easy. You just need to go to control points, add a point. Let's say this is something you don't want, you just want the normal route to go straight, you know, so you just add a control point before, after, and then you drag the thing back up. Whoops, that was unintended. Let's undo. Oh, there is a control point here. We don't. This is the one that caused the bug just now. So we drag this one up. Yep, and voila, you just kind of fix the route. Anyway, so this is one example. Another thing that some people may consider is if you don't want to actually use a ridden route, you want to build a route from scratch, you can actually do that by tracing. So if you do a prepare for tracing, what happens is you get a blank slate, but the existing route is like a kind of a gray line as shown here. Then you can actually start making your own route. So for example, the route starts with KFC here and then comes out the main road. So maybe you don't want to start with this little thing, you just start off from the main road and then build your path like this and so on. But yeah, I'm not gonna go through this, I'm just giving a hypothetical what if anyway. So let's just go back to the original route and start again. Alright, so we're back at the default route. Actually, there's not much that you need to do because most of the checkpoints and the queues are already there for you. But one thing you may want to do is add additional queues. Especially what I like to do with these kind of routes is I go through the whole route and look for interesting points for, let's say, supplies. For example, I'll be looking for convenience stores, petrol stations, restaurants, things like that. So as an example, let's say, okay, our starting point is here in KFC, Simpang Pulai. So from here, when we go down for about 5 kilometers, then turn left and start climbing Cameron Highlands. Okay, so lots of kilometers of climbing. Cameron Highlands is quite a long climb, and there isn't going to be much in terms of the queue sheet until the 100-kilometer checkpoint. So the problem is there's nothing here, so we want to look for, we want to mark down points that may be crucial for, let's say, food, for rest, for water, and sometimes you don't see things until you zoom in, and this looks like an interesting thing. Now there are two ways to actually view this. One way is you look at this little guy here. You can actually drag him all the way down here to the route and drop him off, and you can actually see what's going on. Hey, look, this is an R&R place, probably a good place to stop for food, drink, refill, whatever. Also a nice viewpoint for maybe photos, so that's interesting. Let's add a queue sheet, add 2 queue sheet around here, and it'll be a food point. Actually, the type doesn't really matter, but on Garmin's, like, water will just show up as a little water drop. Those are not really important. The only important ones are the directional turns, like left, right, U-turn and all that. But for other points of interest, well, doesn't matter what you put actually. So let's just call this food. Now, another thing to consider is, depending on your device, you may have a limited amount of space or a limited number of characters for this, even though you can actually enter lots and lots of text for description or whatever. Oops, that's but I'll use Garmin's as an example. You are actually limited only to 10 characters. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if you load this up onto your Garmin, you'll only see lots and L, which is not ideal. So depending on your device, you may need to optimize how you describe your points of interest. So for this, I'm just gonna call it food. There, I got a point here for food. What next? Oh yeah, this BH patrol in Blue Valley here, this is actually a very crucial point. So I'm gonna call it a water point or whatever, and we call it BH patrol. See, we are still within the maximum character limit, for at least for my Garmin. I don't know if your Wahoo or whatever device you're using has any limit, but I'll just stick to my Garmin limit. So here's an important point where I must remember to stop and stock up on water, as there won't be anything from here until Gua Musang. So we go. Now, one thing I like to do is go over every, let's say, 40 to 60 kilometers and try to find something to mark down. So even though I don't really stop at every point that I mark down, it's good to have something that you can see on the cue sheet, so that when you are riding, you will know that there is something up ahead and you can plan accordingly. So there's a control point here. You just go. Hey, what's this? Kedai Runcit Pok Ya. No idea what this is. Let's take a look. Oh, interesting. Now, one thing is, even though you see buildings and you see like food stalls, there is no guarantee that it may be open during the actual ride. But just in case, let's just mark something down here. And I guess I'll just put a question mark there to mark that I'm not sure if this is going to be a point of interest for sure. Okay, so from here we reach Gua Musang at around kilometer 157. There's going to be a checkpoint here. So usually around checkpoints, I don't really bother to mark anything. So since we're at 160, I'll be looking for something around the 190 to 210 mark. Hey, but look, nearby there's another shell. Why not just mark it down? Just, you know. Okay, other than shell, what do we have? So since I marked this down at around 180, I want to mark something else around 200 to 240. But hey, I see a Caltex here and it's just slightly further a bit. There's a little town here. Let's take a look. It's a very small Caltex at kilometer 245. It may be night time by now, but And why not? Even if it's closed, then you might need it for, I don't know, rest or whatever. So I'll just call it Caltex. So from 244, let's go to around 290 to 300. Something interesting here, so maybe we don't go to 290 to 300. Look, a little town here, lots of koala fry, shell. Now in places where there's a lot of stuff here, there are 2 patrol stations, a third one up here. Usually I don't bother to mark everything down, but actually there is already a Mary Brown here, so there's a checkpoint. I don't need to mark all the other patrol stations. I know that if there's a checkpoint, there will be stuff around, so I don't have to bother with this particular checkpoint. So from here, next I'll go to 300 to 330. What is this here? It's another town. So let's just mark this Petronas down. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to mark things down and I really need to go all the way in. Look, there's a Petron and Petronas, so I'll just mark. Before that, let's take a look. Actually, there's another way. The first method was dragging this little guy here, but you can also just click and view it on Google Maps. Sometimes you can get more information this way. So what do you know? It's a 24-hour patrol station. That's very nice. And at this point, it's probably going to be nighttime, so having a 24-hour patrol station is a plus. So let's mark it at this junction where you turn in, and we'll call it Petron. Yep, Petron. So from this point onwards, we are going to need to find an overnight spot. Okay, so usually my overnight spots are around the 400 kilometer mark, but in this particular instance, 400 kilometers is like in the middle of a climb. There's actually nothing around this entire area, so either I have to go all the way to, let's say, to Greek, which is at 480 kilometers, or make the overnight spot before the climb. And in this case, it's probably a better idea to get the overnight before, because I heard from the recce report that this particular stretch is probably not a good place to be in the middle of the night. So let's look at these 2 places. I believe I've checked out Jelly before. There's actually not much here. The better place is Ayelanas, which is just like 12 kilometers beforehand. I believe there was actually a hotel somewhere here. There's Ayelanas. Let's zoom in a bit more. Sometimes you don't see anything until there we are. There's a Cast Hotel, SBH Rest House. Let's just take a look at this one. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so this is the hotel. You can see pretty small place. Not even sure if it will be open by the time we arrive at this spot, but on the other hand, let's move forward a little bit and look at this nice big area, rest house. Possible to get some rest here, perhaps, especially for those who may not be interested in the comforts of a nice hotel bed and a shower. This looks like an interesting place to like get a couple of hours of rest. So yeah, that's nice. Let's just mark this area down. And so I'm not really interested in this particular hotel, I'm just interested in this area, so I'll just mark the general region of it. And like I said, you can just probably choose something. I'll just pick water since it shows a nice little water drop icon, and I'll call it R&R. Now what if I skip this? I remember there is one last stop before starting the climb, so I believe that's somewhere in Jelly. There it is, this PH patrol. Let's double check. Yep, it's a 24-hour patrol station, so this is nice. So this is kind of like what do you call, last resort. So basically, if I skip the hotel and everything, this is my last chance to stop and get some rest before embarking on the climb. PH patrol. Yeah, so that's basically it. I'm just going through the map looking for points of interest to mark down on the cue sheets, and also to use the mapping feature to actually examine the map and see what's interesting. Like this one, for example, a nice photo spot. I wonder what's at this photo spot. Looks pretty nice, assuming I pass this area during the day and not the dead of night. Might be an interesting place to stop and take photos. Also assuming that I have enough time, I'm not, running out of time and rushing. And I can also tell that this is quite a narrow road, so I have to be careful of cars. And I'll just continue to go through the rest of the route all the way to Greek, Lenggong, and this is also a good place to actually examine the elevation. Sometimes it doesn't look much until you actually zoom in to the area, and whoa, look at this. This is like rolling hill territory, something that you do not see in the fully zoomed out version. Look, you think that this whole stretch is nice and flat until you go in all the way and wow. Anyway, so going back, yep, so basically scouting ahead, doing everything, and once everything is done, I just save, probably give it some name or whatever, and I'll save it as new. I probably mark it as a cycling route, normal pavement. Actually, I don't know if this actually does anything on the GPS device itself. Probably not. This is more for the benefit of people looking at your route on RideWithGPS itself, so who can see it. Friends only, save as new, and once it's saved, it's time to transfer the device onto your cycling computer. Now I'm not going to cover that step because it really depends on your brand and model. Different models probably have their own ways of transferring. Sometimes you can just transfer directly from your mobile phone to Garmin Connect, which then syncs to your Garmin. I don't know, Wahoo probably has some method, Brighton probably has some method, I'm not sure, but Garmin's, you can copy the file directly to the Garmin, or you can upload directly to Garmin Connect and then sync it. So after you get the thing on your device, it's always a good idea to give it a check, make sure everything is in order, rather than wait for the last minute and find out that something is not right. This will take a while, so I'm gonna speed it up a bit. Okay, so let's check the navigation. As you can see, the Garmin's have limited characters for their names, so I have to resort to all kinds of abbreviations. Actually, I had this previously loaded on, otherwise it will take a while to actually load up and calculate. But once you have everything, you can see the cue sheet here. I'm not sure if this was shot nice and clearly on the video, but you can see all the directional cues, as well as, you know, the food, which is like this tiny fork and knife symbol, which is not that easy to spot, but the water drop symbol is a lot easier to notice. That's why I mark things as water instead of food most of the time. Also, the controls are marked as little flags. And yeah, it annoying GPS beeps. Let's just turn this off. But anyway, yeah, this is how I get cute, how I mark things down, how I survey the route and place points of interest on the cycling computer itself, so that I will be able to look ahead and see what's, well, ahead of me on the route. So hope you found this interesting, hope you enjoyed the video. And what kind of navigation and routing do you use? I'd be interested to hear about it. Let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Thank you for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.